Alright, so I'm going to give you a little look dirty. We'll go over a few things here. Some features that this old bomb has on it that you can't see. This is like a... This car is a joke car. This car should never be this fast. A lot of you Volkswagen guys that watch this will look at this video and go, scoreboards are wrong. But anywho, we got a 2276 here, 82 by 94. Set of ARPM heads. They say Superflow on the valve cover, but they're actually the original ARPM head stamped in the intake port. Cylinder heads are probably around $1,200 range, you know, and then you have to take them apart, port them, make them work, valve springs, all that stuff would be additional. It's got a set of Berg rockers on it. Real healthy breather system on this car, and the can never gets wet, so that's key, you know. The more hose you can put on the motor, you know, and let it breathe, the better it's going to be, especially this type of engine. There's our breather can in the back. I know some of you hot rod guys are going to be dying. That's an actual Moon gas tank. I know HO Motorsports would probably like to have that on his front bumper. It used to be aluminum, had the cap up there on the top of it where the breather's at now, and then it's got a vent line. It's actually got 3 return lines in it. It was actually a real race tank from the 60s that I picked up, and it makes an excellent breather. I put a little petcock on the bottom of it to drain it, and I never get anything. Here's our Berg oil filter, Berg. We're going to take that apart in a little while. I showed you the screen the other night when I was showing the full flow setup deal. We'll see what the screen looks like, and that'll determine whether we need to get into the bottom end of the motor. If there's any kind of bearing wear or anything that's failing, it'll be in that screen. I don't have a light on this car, so I don't know if it's been bypassing or not. I've only we got about 6 passes on it since we changed oil and serviced it last time. So we adjust the valves every time we race it. Whether we make 1 pass or 5, you know, it doesn't matter. We always do the basic tune-up. We'll leak the motor, adjust the valves, and nut and bolt everything. I'll show you one of the lines shook off the last time we took it out. One of the other features on here are these Ron Loomis shocks. These are the old ones, some of the original ones that he came out with. These are, I think they have a 12-way adjustment. It's got a knob on the back here that you can adjust the rebound and the dampening. And then this is one of Scooter's setups. He put these limiting cables on here. Now these are only tight when the car's jacked up, and what that does is it keeps this wheel from falling out of the alignment angle. Volkswagen, if you don't have this on here and you take the stops off the spring plates, when the car gets out of shape on the big end, this tire will be able to drop down, and you don't want that. You want the tire to stay flat on a drag car. So that's what these are for. They limit the travel that the axle can go down. The axle can travel up all it wants. It just can't fall any further than you see it. And that keeps the alignment, you know, where you can drive the car. Not dangerous. So we'll pop this valve cover off. I loosened it earlier. You can see the oil is like gold honey in there. Looks killer. There's the Berg rocker arms. 900 bucks there for a set of these rockers. You can buy cheaper ones. You can buy the Potters. You can buy the Autocraft. But the Bergs are the best there is. There's no substitute for that kind of quality. Never had any kind of Valvetrain issue with this car. I use Berg springs, Berg retainers, and the Berg rockers. That's quite a bit of an upgrade there to the cylinder heads. You know, now you're up into, you know, over the $2,000 mark, approaching $3,000 for the cylinder head and the Valvetrain components on this motor. We use a set of SEMA piston cylinders. I did used to hurt this engine quite a bit. I made a phone call to the guys at Paradise Express and talked to the guys on the phone, and they were a world of help for me, and I haven't hurt the car since. They helped me tune it up. So I'm no longer breaking the piston cylinders, and I haven't been, you know, mixing the cylinders up anymore either. So we're using SEMA cylinders. They used to be the cheapest way to go because you could just replace them as you broke them. You know, if you need to put a cylinder on the track, you'd have backup. Somebody asked me about deck height video, and most all my motors I build now are low compression engines. When you're building an aspirated motor, the deck height becomes critical. This motor we run about 300 to 250 thousandths deck height, so we have a huge spacer underneath the barrel there, and with static compression is probably somewhere in the 6-to-1 range. On boost it probably sees close to 20-to-1. So turbocharger is a multiplier of the compression ratio. It builds cylinder pressure, so you have to start low with the static compression, or you're limited to the amount of boost you can run. This motor is capable of about 25 pounds of boost. We usually run it right about 15. Last time out, you guys had the GoPro in the car, and then several people at the track with cameras. Got a couple different angles for you. We went 1002 or 1012, I think, or 1002, I can't remember, and it turned 35 off the trailer. I did find this, the boost line from the wastegate was off the car, so that means it was running completely off wastegate, and that spring in the wastegate is 8-pound spring, so 8 pounds of boost, 10 flat, not too bad. It was running really good for 8 pounds of boost. We usually run around 15 pounds of boost, so more than likely we're gonna have to give it some fuel. I'll have to look at some of the numbers and stuff from the ET slips, but it was mean and lean and really fast with running off the wastegate. You know, it didn't have the line going to the manifold. So we had a big boost leak here though, you know, the reference point. So we'll make sure to put this line back on and get that all fixed and straightened out before we go to the race in South Carolina. But yeah, I'm getting ready to pull all the exhaust off, pull the carburetor off, we get the turbo out of there, and then pull the short block out probably, unless it leaks really good. So we'll do a leak test here in a little while. This side's a lot of the same. Got the JC spring plate retainers there. Those eliminate the urethane bushings. A lot of guys will use the red urethane bushings in there, and what happens is those things become very brittle over time. Don't know about the American car urethane. I just know from experience with the Volkswagen stuff. We used to run a urethane grommet here with the original cap over it. I even took the caps and had them Teflon coated so they would be very gentle on the urethane. A lot of you guys that have put the urethane bushings in your car, you hear them squeak real bad when you hit a bump. And if you want to eliminate that squeak, take your caps to a coating place and have the inside coated with Teflon. And it'll keep the bushing from wearing, and it'll keep from squeaking. But what happens with these, I've seen it 3 or 4 times in a drag race application, and that's finally why we went to these. Probably why there's a market for these plates. These are made by JC Enterprises. There might be a few other people that make these. These are aftermarket spring plates, sway away. They're a little larger. So what I used to have was the sway away grommets in there. And I was in South Carolina, the car shook tires real hard, and all those grommets fell out onto the starting line. They broke, they got real brittle, hard, and they shattered. And it took a few weeks to figure out why the car wouldn't drive right. Every time you put power to the car, this wheel would move back and forth, you know. When the car was static, the alignment was good, but when you put power to it, you know, it'd want to move the wheels. So that's why we went to these spring plate retainers, and world of difference. Makes the car very easy to tune. You still have the urethane bushing on the inside. The one on the inside is yellow now instead of red. I don't know if it's a different type of urethane or what the deal is. It's what JC sells when he sells the plates. He offered the yellow one, so I got those. As far as the transmission, we got a 1972 case, so it employs the big bearing, the single nut for the pinion bearing. It's got steel side plates on the transmission, both sides. It's through bolted. Let me crawl under the car and show you that. Here we go. So here's the gusset. It's welded on the transmission, you know, and then if you look right here, See if I can get it where my finger's at. You see this, hang on a minute. Doo-doo-doo. Anyway, this bolt right here has been added, right here. And what we use, I shouldn't say what I use, Noel and Scooter came up with this idea. I don't know who they got it from, but you actually drill through the case and add another stud to hold this transmission together. A good indication if you're drag racing a swing axle, if it's in good shape still, is when these side plates start to weep or you start to get a leak on the tranny. It's usually time. This one's super dry still. We're at 38 passes on this ring gear, this transmission. Scooter at RNS Performance built this tranny. It's like I said, double side plated steel plates, through bolted. Got the gusset on. It's a 1972 case. FTC gears, FTC first and second, welded third and fourth. It's got an aluminum spool in it and diamond axles. So transmission's probably right around $3,000 to build nowadays. So you can start to add it up. Volkswagen racing's not very cheap. It's not much cheaper than racing a Camaro or a Nova or anything like that. You know, you can buy a pretty nice set of cylinder heads for $2,700 for a big block or a small block. You know, that's about what it costs for a good set for a Volkswagen. Now these heads are completely outdated. They have what they call a component development cylinder head. They're about $10,000 on the car. And that's what everybody's using that's running in the 8s now. This used to be pretty much a 9-second class, you know, every once in a while somebody go low 9, and that's pretty much with this technology. Now everybody's fuel injected, intercooled, running the component development heads or a Potter head, and they're approaching into the low 8s pretty regular, mid 8s, and there's a couple cars that are running in the 7s, and I'm never looking to go that fast, and this car will never be that fast. But it is a good car, you know. I'd like to sell this car. If anybody's serious about going Volkswagen racing, this would be a good car for you. It could be for sale without the motor, without the tranny. You know, I'd take $5,000 for the car, plus motor and tranny, and $15,000 with the motor and tranny ready to go to the starting line. You know, 9-second Volkswagen. I don't think you could build one for that. I'm not sure. You might be able to. Anyway, a little more about the car. Some of you guys have seen the clutch system. We use a CO2 clutch. It does have a nitrous timer aboard. I had nitrous on it and took it off. Car runs pretty much 10 flat, high 9s without the bottle, and I elected not to use the nitrous just because I don't want the extra strain on the motor. Back to the clutch, it's a CO2 clutch. This clutch system was designed by a guy named Ollie, a pro stock race Volkswagen, Ollie Fry, and they came up with this setup. I don't know why they went away from it. I bought it and stumbled onto the simplicity of it. I don't use the air bottle anymore. All I use is the ram, which you see attached to the clutch pedal down there. And basically I use the ram and this orifice right here, this valve. And what I can do is I can open or tighten this valve. It's very tight for some reason. Oh, yeah, usually it turns real easy. It needs to be lubed right now. But anyway, if you open this, it lets the clutch pedal turn faster, and if you tighten it, it slows the clutch pedal down. This is an exhaust valve. All it does is it exhausts the air from the ram out of that valve. So by slowing the ram down, you can make the clutch slip. Works a lot like an anti-shocker, but it's not affected by the temperature. As the rounds go on, the anti-shocker that Gene used to sell is bolted to the transmission. It picks up heat, and it's got hydraulic fluid in it, and the fluid gets, the viscosity gets to changing, and it changes the way the anti-shocker works round to round. This, however, doesn't change. The air is very consistent, and as you loosen that up, you can adjust how hard or how easy the car leaves. If you open the valve all the way and let the clutch pedal return really quick, the track has to be really good, and it just keeps adding tire speed. The more you close the valve, the more tire speed it takes away from the car. So it's been really good on the transmission, and it's a cheap tool to keep the transmission from breaking. You could eliminate the bottle and all that stuff. All you need is the ram, the line coming over to the bleeder valve, and you'd be set. So it's a cool setup. I stumbled onto it by accident. It also works in conjunction with the delay box. If you want to use the CO2 bottle, what it does is it locks the pedal to the floor. You push the pedal down, you dial in the delay you want in the box, and you know, if you guys are bracket racers, you know what the delay box is for. You leave off the top yellow bulb, and the box counts down and then releases the clutch when the green light comes on. That works in conjunction with the two-step. As you roll into the beam, you mat the car all the way wide open. It goes onto a rev limiter, and it's got two chips. It's got a high side chip and a low side chip, and it'll bounce on the low side chip as it's sitting on the starting line, and when the delay box releases, it goes to the high side chip. I usually don't use the delay box. I usually just leave off the pedal. I pedal it, foot brake the car. I don't like the delay box. It's okay, but I like to have control of the clutch pedal, if that makes any sense. So I shouldn't say foot brake. It does have line lock. This is for the first button activates the two-step. The second button, or the first button is line lock. Second button is the two-step. The spoon thing is something that Kendrick made for me. That's Kenny. I gotta introduce you to him. He's the little gadget maker down at the shop. We've been friends since we were kids. He's the transmission influence in my life, and the gadget guy. So he makes a lot of the cool stuff on my car. He built these intake manifolds for me, and the center section. He does all kinds of fabrication. This is a Kinder Link piece here. This is an oil accumulator for the turbo. We had a standard line on here, and it was smoking when you shut the car down, you know, or at the end of the track. And what happened was the oil line, even though it's very large, you can see there, I need to replace it. It feels soft. But that line wasn't big enough to return, so he came up with the idea of making an accumulator here, so it could gobble more volume of oil up coming back from the turbo and then return it to the case, and seemed to work really well. That's an old air conditioned piece that he cut up and welded up and made. So that's a little bit of the car. We'll go ahead and get into it. Let me go ahead and take some more stuff off and see where we're at, see what we're gonna have to get into. I thought there was an oil leak on this, and I don't see any drops underneath it, so I need to hit it with some brake clean and stuff and get all the dust off there, and maybe get it fired up so we can see what's what. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that boost line put on. I'm gonna check the wastegate here. I got the wastegate checker so I can see what the boost is set at and all that good stuff, and we'll turn you guys back on when we get ready to fire it up.